Check, check.
It's been a while since we've done this.
Check.
It's been a while
It's like
since I first found
first
you.
of 2025, right?
Guitar Friends is on. Maybe you're in your car or mowing your lawn. Just turn it up. The Guitar Friends are on. The greatest podcast about guitar is on. As long as you don't count all the ones that have big guests and are very intentional about actually having guitar-related conversations. The Guitar Friends is on. This is Guitar Friends. HW, Sooze and Jon2. It's mostly about guitar, but also some other stuff will be discussed too. But it's most about guitar, unless we get distracted and talk about food or Teslas, or how annoying it is that Californians keep moving everywhere and bring their terrible ideas and ruin that state to Nashville. But no swing guitar.
Tone.
And the crowd goes mild. Guitar Friends episode, whatever's down there, because it's the first of 2025, and I have no idea at this point.
Minute, yeah.
This Guitar Friends episode, it's been a minute.
Wow.
But
Welcome
here
back.
we are.
It's
Welcome
like
back.
it might be 60 or 59.
It could be.
I kind of want to know.
All
could
right.
Wow.
Well,
No, we could find out.
what?
We could find out.
We're
later.
getting into it.
Do you want me to look?
This is
No,
riveting.
don't look. Actually,
Okay,
I changed my
well,
mind.
It's they already know.
It's right here.
It's right there. Okay, Guitar Friends, how you guys doing? How you doing?
Man.
How you doing? John, you're playing a Sire into that's a deluxe reverb.
But like metal.
It's an appropriate amp for that.
Yeah.
It's got a fuzz face on it. That's why.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Not really metal.
Okay, I have a question.
Not at all metal.
I have a question
would know.
for you guys. I want your opinion on this. So I've got this comment recently on a video where I've been drinking coffee and I sip my coffee. And I've received some comments like, God, please stop sipping the coffee. Don't sip the coffee. Like one guy said, I can't watch your videos because of the anxiety I am caused by knowing you're going to eventually slurp
Like
your
the
coffee.
anticipation of
Yes,
it,
he can't, so
yeah.
he can't watch.
Sure.
So I started actually editing a couple slurps out. So like you'll see it and it just goes like this. There's
Just the slurp.
Because I just
So,
took
yeah,
the
yeah.
slurp out.
Right.
so it's like
It's kind of a fun editing game.
right? It's
Yeah,
like
how
real
good can I
slurp.
make it look?
It's real quick.
Yeah.
It's real quick.
He must not be a fan of the podcast then, this guy.
No, but you know,
The
I
slurps
did.
got out of control.
I did at NAMM meet a fan of the podcast, and that was I sent you guys the video. It was a No Drums Allowed channel.
Oh, yeah,
He just takes songs and takes the drums out
Yeah.
via AI, puts it on YouTube, and then he uses the playlist to play along with it. And he likes the intro song, so
It
he's
felt like we had arrived when I watched that. I looked at the other songs. I was like, there's some
Yes.
like well-known
Right,
songs,
right.
and now our theme song
up
is in there.
it's up
We
there.
arrived.
And
What a weird one.
I know, but he enjoyed. He was like, yeah,
I've
play along with it.
I've listened to that song a lot of times, and I've never thought I would love to play drums to this. I've never
But you're
thought.
going to tonight.
I've
I
never
feel like.
thought that.
Right.
Going to
Try it.
So
Oh, man.
someone asked it was just an earnest question, I think, and it was like, why do you sip your coffee in these videos? Or why do you sip your coffee? That was it. And I thought about that question for a bit. And I was thinking, is he asking why in this video I like sort of slurped my coffee? Or is he asking why in general people do this? And I was sort of analyzing it. And I was going, why do people do that? I'm thinking it's something about the anticipations, like something's about to be hot. You know what I mean? It's a little like it's a protection. But why the inhale? Like it doesn't stop it from being hot, but it's like it feels right.
It does, though.
It does?
You're talking about like slurping
Like a
versus
little like
sipping?
Like, you know, when you go like
Yeah.
hot
you're,
coffee,
You're being
you know?
careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah.
but why the inhale?
It cools it down.
Right. That's what I've read. So the air going by it. And
Yeah.
like, you're like, cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to the bottom of what he's probably just annoyed by it.
He might be watching now.
And he just heard you do that.
I really.
Well, he's gone now.
He feels personally attacked now, which he kind of is.
The podcast, all bets are off. He'll do
I
whatever he
know.
wants.
I
Yeah.
know.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm
Does
not
it-
one of those people that's like so
Bothered by it?
bothered by things, you know?
Yeah.
Like I know some people like one of my wife's best friends, like she can't hear people chewing. If she hears people chewing, she like leaves the
It's
room
over.
essentially.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I just don't have that. I can't think
yeah.
of any way that I'm like that.
I have a cousin with a loud jaw, and it bothers me.
Like it pops.
Like it clicks
Like
and
it,
stuff.
there's like a little bit of a click, but also there's just like
There's like noises.
there's like everything. It's just he has a loud jaw. I've noticed ever since we were little.
Do
Also,
you leave the room though? Does it make
No.
you physically uncomfortable?
No, I mean we would watch like wrestling together, and we would hang out. We were friends, you know. Like we would, you know, he's my cousin, so we'd hang out all the time. But he had a loud jaw always. You just get over
Did you ever
it.
talk about it? You ever come up in conversation?
I don't know if he knows. He
I hope
watches
he
sometimes.
knows.
He knows sometimes.
Now he watches. Now he knows. He watches the podcast.
Interesting.
I like that. Just exposing truths here.
Yeah, some people have
Exposing
loud
everything.
jaws.
He
though.
might be wondering why you are drinking coffee in your video. Like, couldn't you just do this before or after the video? Maybe that's what he's asking.
Yeah, it's like I think I do those videos where I have coffee are usually in the morning, but this is the afternoon.
Currently,
Yes, and I just
Right.
felt like a coffee, and I offered one to John. And
I always want coffee.
coffee's good.
you weren't upstairs, I would have offered you one.
Well, I have water from Taco Bell.
There you go. Then what'd you have?
What did I get to say? Value menu stuff. 3 of them for $6.78 or something. My
Is that
total
like
was.
an in-app coupon or just normal?
No, I just went bonk, 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 and
Boom, boom,
paid the
right,
thing.
the kiosk.
Yeah.
Old school.
You turned me on to the stacker, which I've been doing. It's really good.
double-
Stack burritos.
The stacker, huh?
Oh no,
No,
the
the
stacker.
stacker.
It's like a.
Quesadilla with beef, basically.
It's basically like a beef quesadilla, but then they fold it into like quarters.
Would you say they stack it?
They stack it.
Double
I would.
beefy
I would. I'd say
burrito.
that.
Is that double beef?
The double beef burrito.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one's really good too. I tried the potato one for the first time. Never had that.
Oh, with the potatoes and
It
stuff.
was fine.
Yeah, fine.
Is there
Yeah.
beef in it too?
No, it's a veggie option.
It's kind of
That's not.
It was crispy. I like the crispiness of it.
Yeah.
you know.
that's good for people who don't eat meat. They have something.
And
Taco
it had like
Belly.
a Southwest sauce in it or something, which I'll
Del
take.
Taco used to have like a something with potatoes in it. Do you remember that? It was like a burrito with.
Cheesy potatoes, maybe.
It was like, not blue
Yeah.
cheese, but
Are you
something.
a Del Taco guy? Did we talk about this?
They didn't really have a lot of Del Tacos, but I've had it many times. But it wasn't like a regular spot for me where I was growing up.
There's a new one going into Huntsville,
Is
which
there?
you know I frequent,
Ooh.
and so I'm gonna go.
There you go. You know those vegan options, those veggie options at like a Taco Bell. I feel like it's a little bit like sad, but also like good for you. Like in the Depression, I had this uncle. He sold 2 left shoes together. So what would happen was the shoe manufacturer would send out only right shoes to the stores, because if you sent multiple samples, someone could make a pair of shoes. But the manufacturer didn't want that. They wanted you to buy this pair of shoes, and the samples were free. And if you could put the samples together, people might shoplift them or something, right?
You
If
have a sample of shoes, but not a complete set. Is the idea?
Yeah, so you
Okay.
just have all I guess right shoes,
Okay.
or all left shoes. So my uncle would during the Depression, he would buy all of these left shoe samples from stores when they went out of business or when the styles changed or whatever, and then he would put them together and he would sell them as a discount. And it's kind of sad if you think about it, that someone had to buy 2 left shoes because they couldn't afford the full set. But it's also like nice that they could have shoes.
Whoa! People were so hard up for shoes.
It's a Depression, bro.
2 left shoes is better than no shoes at all.
Yeah. You think
makes
people
sense.
with TDS is bad? Imagine if all the stuff came true. That was a Depression.
What's TDS? What?
You know those tacos with like just
No,
like
Trump-
potatoes in them?
Trump derangement syndrome.
Oh.
That was a
Oh, shoot, I tried to save it. It's a veggie taco.
No, but
No,
man, the
totally.
Depression was
Yeah.
bad, you know.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Dang, that's wild, actually.
Yeah, 2 left shoes. It's like sad. But at the same time, I'm glad that those people could get 2 left shoes. But the orthopedist in me, you know,
I just can't.
he's not formally educated, but in my soul, there's a part of me that really identifies.
Right.
I feel terrible for that man's feet.
Right.
Right.
It's
You'd
not
have to-
like a bad dancer, right? Two left feet. That's
There you go, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't stop thinking of Eugene Levy's character in that
Good call.
the dogs. What's that?
As soon as you
Best
said
in
it, like,
Show.
yes, it came
Did you
back
ever
to
see
me.
that movie?
Yes, of course.
Because he keeps saying he has 2 left feet, but he really does.
did have 2 left feet.
And it kind of pans down. and
There
they're
you
like,
go. There you go. That my uncle and him.
What a callback.
I got 2 left feet.
That's
yeah.
it.
I'm like, oh.
That's
he's like,
it.
no, I
He's
really.
like, no, I really do.
Gosh.
Wow, that's
Fantastic.
great.
Oh,
Yeah, so,
that's so great.
yeah.
All right. What else do we have? Any
Hey,
jokes?
speaking of beef,
Is there any jokes?
Oh, I can
No?
I can get
I
to
tried
it.
to segue. That was
No,
a good.
that was a good segment. Yeah, speaking of
segue.
beef, I have beef with you.
Oh,
Oh, please.
Not of the taco variety.
All right, so you've been posting videos every day this year, which good on you.
Yeah,
So
actually, I will just say I believe it's been since the 28th of November.
Oh,
December.
of November?
December, sorry,
Right.
Sorry,
December.
Yeah,
Just slightly before.
I'm gonna round up.
The first video was that one, the guitar review that went kind of viral.
Which guitar was
The
it?
presidential guitar.
Oh, that one. Yeah,
TDS.
that has nothing to do with the guitar, and has everything to do with the paint
You know,
job.
it's funny. Every day I see a few comments, and it's about whatever the news is of the day.
People
So
are
the
using
other day, it's like a new comment. And it's
Sure.
like, this guitar should take a trip on an airplane back to Colombia. And I'm like, this isn't a
It'll
plane.
be
No, I'm like, who's reading this at
Yeah.
this point? This is weeks old, and that reference isn't going to make
Right.
sense soon.
I know.
Like,
In 4 years, we'll just compile all of our thoughts about in that one video.
yes.
So, all right, so I have a strong beef with you.
Here we
Okay,
go.
please.
You have been judging me for years about enjoying and playing cheap guitars.
I see where this is going.
Wait, is that true? Are there no
I
rebuttal
have
on that?
felt judged.
You
For
have
put-
felt judged?
I have
him?
felt judged by the both of you
You know what, though, John?
for enjoying cheap guitars as much as I do.
I haven't been judging you so much as I've been viewing you as a person who had to buy 2 left shoes from my uncle in the Depression.
Dang.
You know what I mean? I was happy for you, but also sad at the same time.
Well, we played our sirs and our, yeah.
You know? Yeah. I was like, oh.
I feel very vindicated.
I was like, man, I'm glad.
But we were always so excited for you when something
No,
was
I
really
know.
great.
I know. But I could always tell that there was a little bit of like, why are you doing this, John? I could always tell
Okay,
there was
that
like,
is right,
there was like
yeah.
a little bit of
Okay.
like, that's cool for you. Okay, cool. Can we talk about real guitars
right, but
soon?
I wasn't excited. Right. Like in the way I
Interesting.
would be if you were like, check out this new.
Now you're like, check out this Fesley, guys. You guys, this is actually, man, they put all the same heart. It's like all the same
All the
stuff I've
stuff,
been
yeah.
saying for 18
I
months
gotcha.
or years.
It's true.
And now you've realized it for yourself. So I feel a little bit vindicated. Thank you, Fesley, for
Like when it was your idea, lame. When it's his idea, I love this.
totally.
Is that what
Well-
I'm picking up? What you're?
It's a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So
Okay, in my defense, some of the
Yeah.
guitars you were getting, though, although maybe they were good quality, they just didn't speak to me stylistically. So it was difficult
that's
for me
probably
to
true.
see,
Mm.
you know, it was difficult
I was
for me
actually-
to go, wow,
'cause I-
amazing.
okay, so then
You know what
Another
I mean?
metal guitar.
yeah, so actually one of the things I wanted to ask you after watching the Fesley guitar video, how close would you be to letting your Sir go? That's essentially the same guitar.
Oh,
Like compare those two.
okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just to catch people up if you haven't been watching. So Fesley sent me this guitar. It's their new model. They previously did like a 179 model. I talked to them at NAMM. It turns out that's not another model they still have. They've discontinued those initial models that all those YouTubers reviewed, and they've replaced them with these. They went from the 179 price point to basically the 329 price point. But sometimes there's a coupon. You can get it for like 289.
So, but it's 329, but essentially the wood is probably mostly the same.
I believe the wood is mostly the same.
It's just the hardware that's
I
better.
believe the hardware changed. So what's happening now is that guitar or something like that guitar, maybe they've improved it somewhat or something. It's getting Grover tuners. It's getting Wilkinson pickups, a Wilkinson bridge.
Yep.
And the fretwork on mine was perfect. No sharp ends, no sprouting, very smooth frets. You know, someone just did a good job on the frets. I mean, and I felt that guitar punched way above its weight class, and I compared it to guitars in the $699, $799, $899 price range. This is also at a time now people say, no way, it doesn't sound like $1,000 guitar. We're also living in the week when Fender has just released its very first Fender made in Indonesia guitar.
Oh, really?
The new standard series is branded Fender made in Indonesia, $599.
So it's Fender made in Indonesia, not Squire.
Not Squire.
It's very
and
interesting.
And I believe it's made where the Squire classic vibes are made, because those are also made in Indonesia. So I'm guessing that's the same factory. But what they basically did was they took the Vintera 2 line, and they just jacked those up in price. So now those are $799, and now you can get an Indonesian Fender for
Where are the
$599.
Vinteras made? Mexico?
The Vinteras are made, yes, in Mexico. Yeah, and these are the new Vintera 2, or it's Vintera Ultra 2. I can't remember. You know, they've upgraded that line a little bit. It's mostly the same, but they've added new finishes, and I think they did get a bit of an upgrade. So I think they are a little more premium. But Fender is now, for the second time, they did this once before. If you remember, there were a couple Fenders that were actually Chinese made. And but they were only very specific models. I think one was like that Starcaster hollow body thing they did. Now they've made Squire versions, but the Fender one was like made in China. It's the first time they tried it. Apparently it did very bad. People didn't like it. Now that
guitar was weird too.
Yeah, and now they're doing this Indonesia thing, but that's because I think this classic vibes. Everyone's been saying these are like classic vibes are such great value. So
these are the classic vibes that just say Fender on them now.
Right.
They just moved
And
them
the
over.
yeah.
It's probably it.
And so
Because look, a CNC
yeah.
is going to route the same stuff, whether it's operated by an Indonesian person,
Absolutely.
a Chinese person, or an American. So, you know.
Yeah. I think the quality for a lot of these cars is really coming down to fretwork, setup, nut, how the nut is cut. And I think a lot of the parts, and that's why I was so kind of over the moon with the Fesley guitar, because to me, it was like everyone says in those reviews, okay, you can get this guitar, but like maybe you could upgrade the tuners, maybe you could do this. And it seemed like to me they were going, let's just do that.
Yeah.
And so I talked to the guy.
No, because that is, as a person who owns a lot of guitars that are $500 or less. That's always the tuners and the bridge are always the hardest part.
Yeah.
Usually the frets are okay. You just have to clean them.
Yeah.
You have to polish them a little bit
They're
yourself.
usually rough.
Yeah,
like they're
usually
not finished polishing.
Yeah.
They kind of stop before it's like right.
Yeah. And then sometimes you add the nut. The nut can be, they cut it to where there's room left on purpose, because it's better to cut it too high than to cut it too low. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can always shave it down if it's too high, but if it's too low, you got to get a new one. So
I talked to the guy. He made a comment to me. I said, I really love that you're putting the Wilkinson pickups and bridge. And he said, yes, they're much more expensive.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And you know what? After talking to him, my takeaway was they were genuinely like asking me, how should we promote these guitars? You know, like they were like, we've been around for 5 years, and they were like, he was like, it's tough. You know, it's tough, like introducing a brand and saying this is made in China.
Yeah,
and he's like, what I noticed was they were trying to they were moving up in price a bit above where like Donner is and above, because other people are in that 179, 200 price point.
Yeah.
And so they were trying to move up.
Right.
And they've only done it on some models. So I think the other models are going to get an upgrade too.
I haven't played that guitar very much, but when I picked it up and played it, I was like, yep, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like nothing wrong with it. The frets aren't rough.
No.
I got it and the thing stays in tune. And it's like, look, the neck shape is personal preference.
Sure.
Like you might not dig that neck shape.
Yeah.
And you might not dig the sound of the pickups. And honestly, the sunburst looks cheap. It's not a great sunburst. But you know what's funny? On the new standards, the Fender standards, I went on Sweetwater because, you know, you can see the actual guitar you're buying.
Oh, yeah.
All of the sunbursts were like wrong. there was so much black around the outside of the guitar that on the Strat and the Tele, you couldn't see any sunburst on the upper half of the guitar because the pick guard was going like all the way into the black. It's like a ton of black. And I came down here and started looking at all these other guitars. I was like, I'm not crazy. It's never been like that.
Like, what is it supposed to look like?
Yeah, like you're supposed to have sunburst. See my Sir? You're supposed to have sunburst go into the upper horn.
For sure.
It was like black touching the pick guard. And so it looked... It looked like on the upper half just was like looked like a black guitar, and,
like
then you have the
sunburst.
sunburst coming out the bottom.
Yeah.
And I was like, they literally everyone was like that. I mean,
Speaking
Sweetwater has 10 or 12.
Speaking of weird sunburst stuff, do you guys remember those Gibson speakers that had like the flame top?
The flame maple.
Like monitors?
Yeah.
Flame maple veneered
I do.
studio monitors.
Yeah.
Guys, I saw a pair of those in the wild.
In the wild.
No, being used.
Okay. Where?
It was at a bar.
Amazing.
That's the customer base for that
Some
product.
bar.
Yeah.
I was like, stop it. They actually have a pair of these.
Wait, where? What? They were using them as a loudspeaker?
In Nashville, yeah, they're just like the speakers in the bar. Was like I just remember it's like old school Tone Junkie days. We were looking. Remember that it was? Oh, we were laughing at that neon green, J45.
One,
And then we just started looking at all of the Gibson. We're like, Gibson, what are you doing?
What else do they have?
They're under new management since those days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Good for them.
Well, that's cool.
But you asked me about the Fesley, like compared to the Sir. Let me say this about the Fesley, like to properly put it. I would keep my Sir. The Sir is a better guitar.
Sure.
The Sir is obviously a better guitar.
Yeah.
But if you put Squire Classic Vibe on that Fesley, I think you'd have a bunch of posts on the internet saying Squire has really upped the quality of their, like the value. That's what I think.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so to me, I think it's great there. Now, I could easily go play that on a Sunday because it holds tune.
Right.
Which is like kind of the most important thing.
That is the hard part.
I haven't done this video yet, and I haven't really even played them because they're over there out of tune. But I bought 2 more because a lot of people were like, "How do you know you didn't just get a good one?" And you know, fair enough. They put the problem with these cheaper companies, quality control.
Yep.
There can be a great one and a bad one and a great one and a bad. And so if you buy one, you're not guaranteed. To which I would reply, just buy it on Amazon then.
Yeah, you can return it.
Just buy it. And
also, have you played Gibsons?
Speaking of quality control,
for 100 times the price, you can experience the same quality control issues.
So I bought 2 more. And I pulled them out real quick, and I just ran my hands along the frets on the side, and I went, no sharp frets. But I did notice, NAMM, there was a ton of guitars with sharp frets and sprouting frets, but it's because when NAMM it was 28% humidity outside. And then on top of that, these guitars were sitting in an air-conditioned building for... So I was noticing all the Jets, a couple of the Fesleys, other guitars all around... second or third day were
cheaper ones.
Sharp on the sides.
Yeah.
Even another brand, even the what's it called? I noticed it. And this is what made me think: why are all the guitars feeling like this? Reverend.
Oh.
And so I was like, these guitars just need to be. They should not be. It's with the AC. I was thinking it could be below 20% humidity in this place. 28 outside. I mean, I was playing guitar there, and my hands were getting chalky. My lips were so messed up, and it's because it just is so dry. Yeah, and it was exceptionally dry. I mean,
Reverend is one of those brands that, like, I think I always want to like them because they actually are super cool. But when you play it, you're like, I don't know.
I have memories of always going to Reverend with you at NAMM, and I think every time we walk up, you're like, "This looks the same." Number one,
yes, they've been doing the same.
Same exact thing.
The exact same.
And I think I remember you saying, like, "I hope it's good," like every year, and you always leave and like
they're always just like fine. They're the most passable.
It's like you just pick them up and you strum a chord on it. You're like, nah.
I
wish
one.
I cared more.
I had one. Yeah,
you know what?
I have one or had one.
I owned one back in the day.
Did?
Yeah, and it was meh. It was meh.
Yeah,
I feel like that Revolta over there that's exactly how I feel about it. It's like it was fine.
There's
that
one Revolta
inspiring
at Musicville though. I sent it to you guys last week. It's like I think I want to buy this guitar.
So you like the Fesley more than like the Revolta, and
that Revolta I don't love,
and that's a price difference. I mean, for sure.
Oh sure.
Yeah.
That Revolta I think I don't like the neck.
Yeah.
It looks really great, but playing it is a little funny.
Yeah.
And that was the model I thought would look the best. But
Did you buy these Festleys used or new?
new.
The new,
Because
the
I wanted to
two
see
ones.
what comes right from Amazon.
Yeah, gotcha.
So that way I could tell people, look, because I'm going to do the video where I'm going to go, look, I bought 3,
I bought 2 more.
they gave me this guitar, I bought 2 more.
Right.
Like this is, if the quality is the same,
That's cool. Yeah.
then it's like, hey,
Right, these are random.
this is what it is. I'm not responsible for every guitar you ever buy, but
I mean,
this seems right. This seems like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
yeah.
I
Don't
mean,
come
the
to-
crown, you know.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
3 years, going to be some guy, I heard a Festly and the fret was messed up. And I'd be like, dude.
I mean,
Sorry. Yeah.
So I own 4 Harley Benton guitars, and
Yes.
there's one of them that the frets, the worst one, the frets are like just ever so slightly. You can just you notice them a little
Yeah.
bit, but the other 3 are amazing.
Everybody online seems to say,
Yeah,
just get the tools,
yeah,
just polish them yourself, and
totally.
your complaint will go away.
Yes,
And I that's probably very true.
and that's like, I mean, you're not by tools too. It's like, the
Like a little
little
file
eraser you
thing
can get
set
for
together,
$5. You get like, it's like an abrasive
Mm-hmm.
rubberized abrasive like pack
Mm.
that you get, and you just like rub it on the frets, and then there you go, you're done.
Yeah.
Takes 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Makes a bit of a mess, but it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you're in
you
no
tape it
danger
up.
of
Yeah.
you're in no danger of harming your guitar in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's,
Well, that's cool.
yeah. And I might even do that or something. And I think I'm just going to give those 2 away.
That's cool.
I'll do like a giveaway maybe.
And there's a Sire guitar right there. That's pretty cool. You guys are like,
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of, this is
You're
my,
just getting
this is my
into-
cheap guitar renaissance.
yeah.
Now this, incredible deal, because my theory is, what's the most guitar you can get for your money? Take a guess.
The most guitar you can
Like in
get.
general, what's the most guitar you can get for your money?
Like the awesomest guitar for the least amount. You're trying to get that.
Like how can you
ratio
get the best
down.
like value for your money? It's kind of a trick question. It's not really. A
Yeah, I
trick
don't
question.
really know. What
Is
you're
it just
talking
buy cheap and upgrade?
Used.
Oh gosh.
Sure. I mean, maybe.
Here
Right.
we go.
No, but I just mean like if you buy a used guitar, someone else already like took the depreciation. You know what I mean? So with
Sure.
these Sires, they're starting to get kind of expensive. Like this year, I think Sires like this model went to like $11.99.
Did
So
it
like
really?
they were really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'm not
true.
100%
Oh, I
sure.
thought they were like $600.
I know.
So some of them are.
Okay.
But well, I don't know. I see some. I couldn't figure out what they actually cost because on Reverb there's a couple for $11.99, and I can't tell if that's like the brand new ones.
Okay.
But no, they're more than that. This model is. But there's other Sires.
Yeah.
Not the 335 style ones, but the Strat and the
Usually,
Jaguar
semi
ones.
hollows like that are more expensive. They're just more difficult
Yeah,
to build.
I think they were like $6.99 when they first came out, like 5-6 years, like
I
5
saw him on
years
Tim
ago, 4
Pierce's
years
channel,
ago.
and he
Yeah.
was like singing their praises.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So this guy was $650. It has a replace pickup here, which I think sounds
Oh.
good. This, I believe, is the same, and then someone put this on it, and this thing feels great.
Yeah,
and
that-
I don't know what brand
What
this is.
Oh, you don't know?
I have no idea what that brand is, but it just feels like a Bigsby.
Yeah,
Is it
feels-
Twitter? Does it just say
Yes,
X
it
on
says
it?
X. This is an X brand.
I'm glad to hear that that Sire didn't make that guitar with that pickup in it, because that pickup, like, for me, the zebra pickup kills the vibe of that guitar.
You don't dig it?
It makes it ugly.
You know, I agree.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm out on that.
Yeah.
I
I want
gotta-
to at least put
yeah.
put one with the chrome.
I was
plate
well. The
on it.
video coming out tomorrow is the best guitar you can buy. The best guitar money can buy. ... A used one. So
Okay.
and that's why I bought this guitar for that video. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
At
it's
least
showing like,
it's-
hey, someone already took this guitar. They did arguably an upgrade. You know, you might not like it,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
did this. They did this, and Indonesian made, and it's you know what I mean? It's like
This one was made in Indonesia, right? Just
No.
kidding.
and you
Yes,
know
sir.
it's like you can't buy this for $6.99 new,
No.
but for $6.50 you can get it used, and
That's a lot of guitar for $650.
yeah, and it starts to feel like, why would I sell that? Like maybe I just want to keep it around for that. I can't get much for it.
That looks just like your 335 that you had.
False.
Yeah, I
Things
wouldn't
that are
say-
false.
I wouldn't say that. This is obviously
What
a
was
veneered
wrong? What
tiger
was different
stripe.
about it?
There's chalk right here.
Wasn't
I'm
yours-
I just looked at notes. There's
a lot
a
different.
chalky.
No, but
substance.
wasn't yours? It didn't have a Bigsby, but didn't yours have? Doesn't it sunburst like that?
Mine had a Bigsby.
Oh, it did have a
I think
Bigsby.
so. I don't know
But
if
this
you're
is not a
remembering.
Bigsby. And his is a Gibson, so the shape's a little different. Like the horns are
Well,
different.
no, okay.
His has a pit guard.
Pit guard. There's a lot different.
Oh, okay.
These inlays are kind of what Sooze has.
I
think
guess
they're
that's
about
what,
right.
I guess
We
I
can
was
call that.
just,
We
I
can
was
call-
literally just looking at
His
the
says-
color and
It's a sunburst guitar.
the sunburst and the. No, it had square inlays.
This says Larry Carlton.
Okay, guys.
Let's make a spreadsheet.
Screw you guys.
Poor John.
I will say something that's the same. Both of them have orange tips. Is that right? Does yours have an orange
Dang,
tip?
that's beyond my memory.
Your recollection.
That guitar also sold for $3,000.
Well, that's what I was going to say. No,
That's quite a bit different.
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
my,
yeah.
No, this is my whole point.
You
is
had
that
Burstbuckers, maybe? Was it
For-
Burst
I think it was.
57?
for
Yeah.
less than a third the price, you're
Uh-huh.
getting roughly the same type of guitar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I
Same
liked that
features.
guitar. Didn't love it,
Yeah.
which is why. But like, yeah, that would probably get you pretty close.
What did you buy with that when you sold that?
Probably my mortgage. I don't remember
1
what
month
I
of mortgage?
Yeah,
The
boring.
boring.
Yeah.
The other thing is this pickup that was replaced is like a $50 pickup.
Mm.
It's a Tone Planet Special 59.
That's what's in there now.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what someone put in there. I never
That's what they upgraded it to.
Yeah, and it's making me think. I've often heard people say there's like these sort of upgrade pickup brands that people are like. People say, "Hey, Wilkinson makes pretty good pickups," but like they get overlooked in light of these other brands.
For
This
sure.
one, Tone Planet, often is another one that people are like, they're not much money. They're about $69 new.
Right.
So what they're trying to do is come in at like we're like 2/3 the cost of a Duncan 59. You know,
Yeah.
we're less than that.
Yeah.
Our 59 special. It's also made me wonder. Now, this would be something I can't really get into too much, but maybe I could. But I wonder if you did a shootout, same guitar with like the $49 humbucker you can buy from Wilkinson, this 69 one, the 99, and then you go all the way up to the Lawler in the same guitar. You wonder how much difference is actually happening in just
I've watched videos like that.
Is it?
It's negligible.
right.
You
That's
got to
what-
really, really be paying attention.
That's what I would think is like if anything that says 59 or whatever, it's like I bet they're all getting within the realm where it's like the guitar it's in may influence it more than the difference between all those pickups. And so it may actually be kind of impossible to just say like that one's always better because it could be like this one's darker.
Yeah,
Maybe that's
right.
better in a certain type of guitar.
Yeah. No, I got to hand it to pickup people. It's kind of a weird science that they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not like they have their. I talked to Curtis about it last year because how you wind it, how many winds you do, and the pattern that you're doing, and how quickly you're moving back and forth. It's like that's the sound,
Yeah.
which is really weird.
I felt vindicated the other day because I've always liked those Bernie VH1 pickups that's in my black SG.
Mm.
And I saw a video with Ford Thurston, who's a Nashville guitar player. And he was like, this 78 Greco is like heavy as a boat anchor. But these like pickups they put in it, I played it and had to have this guitar, And I was like, yeah, that's cool. That's a guy like using his ears. He found like a Les Paul copy.
Right.
I've heard people talk about the dry Z pickups, but he's a guy that has vintage guitars. He's, he has like Tom Bukovac's old 335.
Yeah.
And,
That's
so he's
kinda-
like buying some vintage guitars and he's like, those pickups are great in those Greco Les Pauls from the 70s, and it's cool when someone just gets
I think-
away from the.
Okay, so here's my overall point on you exploring the world of cheaper stuff.
Please.
Is that if it sounds good, then it is good. And as long as it does the job that you need it to do.
But the internet told me if I believe it's expensive, it is good. I mean, if it's expensive, I believe it is good.
Right. Yeah. It's like I'm just not I've picked up so many guitars that are like way outside of any price range I could fathom that I'm like, it's cool. But it's like not something I'd want to play. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yes, I agree.
And I feel like
Many expensive guitars I've played, and aren't you just like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and like, I still go back to, I mean, I have a lot of guitars and I play that black Harley Benton guitar by a wide margin the most because it just, for some reason, it just fits. Although now that Rabia's imports are, so Rabia They
I didn't hear about
They
this. Are
announced
they
the whole
doing
Sterling line of his models.
Are you going to get one of those?
Of course,
So I have a question though. I saw
because they're $899,
okay.
$900
that's good, yeah.
That's a great price for a Sterling.
You should buy that and bring it over, and we should compare it to like something like this or something like the Harley Benton.
Because I played.
Do you have Harley Bentons like the same spec? Like, would they be similar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a floating bridge. I don't have many floating bridges.
Is it like just like the really expensive ones? Is it like the Silver Skies, like, or is just a cheaper version?
It's pretty much the same. I think the color is a little bit different.
Okay.
But the neck shape is the same. The carve of the bodies is the same.
It's still his signature guitar.
Yeah. The pickups are a little bit different, and the hardware is a little bit different.
Okay. Remember we saw him last NAMM?
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Did you see anyone cool at NAMM this year play?
Yeah. Give us the NAMM recap.
Yeah. HW went to NAMM. We did not.
We didn't go.
It was a bummer.
We had
but,
real life to.
We haven't
worry
heard
about.
anything because we're waiting for the podcast.
Well, if I can give you the first bummer.
Oh, you didn't ever
sure.
get there.
I feel like I'm about the only person on YouTube who attended NAMM and did not go see John Mayer at the 40th anniversary.
Or meet
PRS.
him and shake his hand.
Yeah. And
That happened.
it did happen.
He was there?
Yeah, Brian, Bradford,
Bradford shook his hand.
Curtis, and Nick all went.
Dang. Jealous.
They met him for like 5 seconds.
They got to take a picture with him. And they went to the PRS 40th anniversary thing.
Not happy. That's a not happy face.
Why did you know that this was an option and
I
you
just want
chose
say
not to do
one
it?
thing though. They might have all seen John, but I'm the only one who's told a joke that John has laughed at, or who arranged a joke.
Those are different.
So when I was on JHS, the JHS show, I said, "Hey, that Klon, could we move it in the shot?" And they were like, "This one?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, when it's upside down like this, kind of looks like a bowl of picks. We could throw a couple picks in there. I said, "Even better, let's make it an ashtray." And so I asked then, "Does anyone here smoke?" And they had somebody smoke. So they went out and smoked some cigarettes. So on my episode, we turned over a real Klon and put cigarettes in it and put them out and put ash in it.
Was it John's Klon?
It wasn't John's Klon, but later Josh got a text and he sent me a text that said, "Hey, John just texted me. Ha ha ha. Klon ashtray."
Wow.
And I said, "Wow, I can't believe John laughed at something that I did." And Josh Scott texted me back and said, "Everybody poops. Like even John has to look at something on the toilet."
How's it gonna kill his time?
He's busy, you know what I mean? But everybody poops, and
That's
when
a
you
great-
poop, you sit on your
response.
phone, right? So it's like, hey,
Yeah.
he saw it.
Everyone's got YouTube Premium.
There you go.
Dang.
Which I thought was such a great answer. So
That's really
But
fun.
you didn't even go to the concert. You didn't.
I didn't even go to the concert. And truthfully, I'm not just saying this to save face. Brian had said to me, I said, we were trying to arrange when we might go to dinner. And I said, do you guys want to go to dinner or something? What are you doing after this? And he said, well, we got that PRS thing tomorrow night. And I said, okay. And then he said, did you want to go to that? And I said, oh, I thought it was just you and Bradford. And he said, no, I got passes for Curtis and Nick. And I was like, oh, well, I'd love to go with you guys. I was staying in a hotel. They were all staying together, but I was hanging out with them the whole time, And he's like, okay, I'll get you a pass. I'll ask if you can come, because he was able to get passes for other people. And then that morning, I talked to John Lee, and or that before, I was like, we were trying to find a time to go to Korean barbecue, and he said, I was like, you know what, John, I was going to go to this PRS thing, or I was going to try, but you know what, let's just do dinner. And I said, and I think, Nesda can go, and I didn't think Curtis and Nick could get in to that exclusive club, because you kind of had to be connected to PRS. It was a big event. I mean, right. Mark Lethierry played, John played, there were a bunch of other artists, all the PRS artists basically. Mateus, I forget who else played, but
Carlos Santana.
Yeah, no, it wasn't him, but
no?
There was a bunch of people, and so I was like, I think we all can go. They're busy. Mm-hmm. So I was about to tell Brian when I saw him, hey, don't worry about it. like, it's okay. I'm just going to go eat with them. I got a flight the next morning. And I said, hey, about dinner. And he was like, hey, yeah, actually, I said about the PRS thing. And he was like, yeah, actually, I can't get you in. And I was like, okay, I'm not just saying this. I'm just going to go to dinner.
Right.
So I'd like the record to show that I blew off it myself.
You could have been there, but it's beneath you.
When you
Even if
decided
he-
not to go,
even
you
if he
didn't
had
know
said,
that
yeah.
you couldn't yet.
If I was listening to this, I would think this guy is a petty liar, and he's not.
Yeah.
But in fact, I did not want to be out late, and I knew I would be, and I think everyone was drunk at that place. So
Also,
yeah, the
you guys
photos
go
I
to the-
saw later was a bunch of celebrities like. I mean, everyone, because it was at the House of Blues. It was like
Oh,
a bit,
sure.
it
Yeah.
was.
did you guys go to that same Korean barbecue place that we went to last year?
No, went to a different one.
Same
as-
experience.
Was it as
the other
good?
one didn't have room, or we would have.
Was it as
probably
good
would've
as the
gone.
other one?
That was good food, huh?
Yeah, this one was really good.
You ate so much. Do you remember when we were leaving?
I've never eaten that much food.
You're like,
ever.
I feel sick.
Yeah.
You kind of got to though when you have all that food sitting out.
Oh my gosh.
You gotta cook it. You gotta eat it.
Well, and they just
This one they cooked it.
kept
They cooked it
Oh.
for
they
you.
just kept bringing it
More
out.
and more.
So, and this one, they kept cooking it. They kept cooking food. It wasn't all you can eat, so the meat was higher quality. That's what John kept telling me. He was like, we should go to this place that meat's higher quality. We don't have that many people. It's just 3 of us. Just me, John, and Nesda. And, but what they also did was, it was like the plate or the hot grill is like a little bit round, right? And there's a tray on the outside for you to put the extra meat that you're done cooking. Well, at this place, the tray is in 2 halves, and on one half they put corn and cheese, and on the other they just pour in egg. So that constantly cooks, and the drippings from the meat are constantly marinating the egg and the corn, and you eat it, and the egg on one side and the corn and cheese on the other is unlimited, no matter what you order. If you order 1 meat or 10, you can always ask for more. And I swear, I was like, how is this egg so good? What is it about this shape of this trough?
Meat drippings. That's
And then,
why the
and then
eggs
I
were
was
good.
taking it and dipping it in the sesame soy sauce thing,
Oh.
and the egg in there was just
Look at- Is there a good Korean barbecue place in Nashville?
I
There's
haven't
gotta
found
be.
one.
I don't think there's any good Koreans in Nashville.
Dang.
Dang.
I mean, there might be, but I don't know if they've opened any restaurants.
That place that we went to last year was unreal.
That was
It
good.
was good. That all-you-can-eat place was good.
I have
This
more
place is very
NAMM
good.
questions.
Please, let's get
Mark
into NAMM.
Samson? Did you meet him? Talk to him?
I did. I met him, took a photo with him. Oh, a funny story about Mark Sampson.
Here we
So
go.
I sat
Who's
down.
Mark Sampson?
Matchless, Bad Cat,
Oh,
Star.
yeah.
So
Okay.
he's back with Bad Cat. They
Okay.
have a new amp that's kind of like this Bad Cat, Black Cat 30, but it's called the Era 30. And there's some changes. There's some pretty significant changes, but it's a Samson amp, Samson style amp. So it's called the Era 30, and I sat down with a Heritage Les Paul thing and played it, and I plugged right into it. I thought I was plugging into the 12AX7 side, but it was the EF86 side because the sides are switched on that amp. So the EF86 is more towards one side. And I asked them why they did that, and they said it's a better design because the EF86 tube placed in the corner is acoustically dead. When you put it in the middle, it gets the most vibration, and those tubes are more likely to become microphonic. So he's like, so Mark told me it's actually a better design. But here's how I meet Mark Sampson. I'm playing this amp, and I wanted to ask a question about it. And I turn, and you start to train yourself to look at everyone's name tag to figure out their name,
Sure,
and
yeah.
also the little color, exhibitor or whatever.
Yeah, why are
so
they
when you're
here?
in a booth, you're trying to figure out who works there.
Right.
Right.
So I wanted to say, do you know about this amp? So I look over, and it says exhibitor, and I look slightly up, and I said, do you know what might be? And I realized it says Mark Sampson, So then I looked up at him, and I said, ha, you're Mark Sampson. And he's like,
The one, the only.
yeah,
Yeah.
And so I said, I start laughing, and and he's laughing, and I said, I was just about to ask you, do you happen to know about this amp? And it's literally his name.
It was
on
at the Bad Cat booth.
Yeah, he
Okay.
he literally sitting next to me on a couch.
Yeah,
he literally comes and sits down,
Right.
and so I just looked right here to say, do you know about this? Because I want to know what speaker was in the cab, and then I realized it's him.
great.
He's like, I made
so,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
What
so-
questions do you have?
And so I told him, I
I
said,
know a thing or two.
I said, I sat down, I plugged his guitar in, and I turned it up loud, and I just went, and I did it, and it was loud again, and I just start banging on the thing, and I see kind of John like look over like it's too loud, you know, he doesn't say it, but and I said, it's so bright and it's so piercing, but it doesn't hurt at all. It feels so good. You know, I said, I've owned so many of your amps, you know, and this sounds amazing, you know. He's like, well, thank you, you know. And then we walked over and he told me some things about the amp, how he redesigned it, some differences and stuff. And I told him about another Samson amp I had and the Bad Cat, and I've owned some matchlesses and stuff from that time. And yeah, he's a nice guy. Nice guy.
That's awesome.
Turned it up pretty loud. I took a picture with him.
Yeah. Amp royalty.
Yeah, he really is. And he had, you know, those shirts, like the shirt. Picture this shirt in your head. It's the button-up shirt with flames that you would wear if you were in a blues band of all dads.
Got it. Go on.
He had that shirt, one for every day of NAMM with different color flames.
Planned out.
Just like one day it was a little blue, the next day it was like normal fire.
That's so
and I didn't see the
NAMM.
third day. It's
Oh,
so NAMM.
Yeah,
it's
for
just
sure.
so NAMM.
It's like hot rodded.
Yes, it's just like it is great.
That's the
Just
great
so
thing about
great.
actually going to NAMM is that if you go a few times, you don't ever need to go again. You know exactly what it's going to be like.
Like when you sent that picture, I was like, I can hear that picture. I know exactly what it sounds right there.
I can hear that picture.
So much
Yeah.
slap bass happening all the time.
For sure. Testing cymbals.
You
Just
can
like,
hear it like from any corner, wherever you're at. You can hear a
Right.
bass being slapped somewhere.
You
trumpet
know what was
solo?
there too? Octave, the company.
Oh,
they've
yeah.
completely redesigned and rebuilt that unit. It's thinner, it's smaller, it's in an aluminum body.
Hold on, you're talking. The Octave is the
Sound of everything. It's that little tablet
little
PC
iPad
tablet
thing.
with the ins and outs.
You did a down payment, right? Or like a.
I just reserved it. It was no down payment
Oh,
to reserve it
okay.
initially, but they kind of scrapped that whole thing, and then they said we got to rebuild this. And so I was talking to them. So they're both like professors from like a college, and
Smart dudes.
yeah, and so like they're really like, you know,
Did they have another booth like on the outskirts with
in the
like
basement. In the
They
basement, like
moved.
so far down in the basement. I didn't even, it was like down in Hall E. I was like, what is this place? It was wild.
Was
Shrine-
China down there?
There was a lot of China, but also some China upstairs. Funny thing about the Chinese booths.
Hold on, we're saying it like that because last year there was just a sign that said China.
You walk up and you're
No
like,
other
Yes.
words.
Okay, this time,
We're like, what does this even
Yeah, it's
mean?
the
this
best.
time, picture this. There was probably 20 or 30 booths, all with the same banner that said China, with this purple graphic behind it with music notes. Big letter, it just said China, and in very small text underneath, it would say Dongzhong,
Some name.
Jiling
yeah,
Factory
there's a company,
Supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it made me think I should start a business where I consult these brands and just say, first thing we could do is put our name larger than the country we're from. You know, first step
Swap it.
in
I
marketing.
don't think they are
Yeah.
interested in that.
Yeah, I thought it would be funny to put just get a booth that says Taiwan and see what happens. Like if any of them would look towards me or acknowledge me or anything. I don't think they'd be allowed to. I think you'd be able to say, "What does that say?" And they'd be like, "It says China." That's what they would say. That's what they would say, right? I think they have to. Right?
You got
I
him good.
suppose so.
You ever heard
Yeah.
that phone call of that guy from Who? And he's like,
The
"Do you-
guy from
from the World
the
Health
World Health
Organization?"
Organization.
And they're asking, the newscaster is asking him what is the outbreak like in China, and he's giving numbers, and they're like, "What have we heard of Taiwan?" And he goes, "Yes, well, in China." And he goes on and answers the question again. And then he goes, "I'm not asking about China, I'm asking about Taiwan." And he goes, "Well, yes, like as I said, in China, blah, 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 blah." And then he asks about Taiwan again, and the guy goes, "Okay, the phone call is over now, thank you."
right.
And he hangs up.
Right.
Because it's
He's like,
it's
this
not
isn't
legal.
He's like, this isn't worth getting shot over.
Yes.
I'm gonna keep.
You're not supposed to. They don't recognize Taiwan as an independent country.
I see.
And you're not allowed to either.
Right.
So, yeah. So anyway, I thought that would be funny.
That would be funny.
It would be in a not so ha-ha way. The joke would get old. You know, NAMM's 3 days.
So yeah, really.
Right.
I know.
So-
So what was the highlight of NAMM? What was the best thing that you saw?
Because we got no pictures, we got no
know.
text. What was it like? You guys are
know.
not here.
It looks
so-
like you just disappeared.
I took very little. I took just enough to do a little bit of B-roll for like a 15-minute. Here was my favorite things from NAMM. Little video I shot this morning.
Interesting.
But okay, my favorite thing. I mean, I'll just tell you.
I thought we'd be blowing up the whole weekend. Sorry, I talked over your slurp.
It's okay.
How rude.
I kind of get it. Hold on. In your defense,
Yeah.
or to defend you a little bit, I get it.
It's freeing.
Walking through NAMM is so surreal of an experience. The last
Yes.
thing I want to do is like take out my phone.
Yeah,
and start-
totally.
Yeah.
No, but you're the guy who's always done like the here's everything at NAMM
Yeah.
threads.
I genuinely like it. You know?
I picked up so
no,
many
I know.
guitars.
What's
and-
new for
I've
NAMM?
also
Yeah.
watched. I've also tagged along with you
Right.
and watched you go just booth by booth. So what'd you do this? What's new for NAMM? And then listen to.
It's
I've-
the best.
I've watched you listen to people sell their stuff to you
Right.
for hours,
Just
at
with
a
a
time.
grin on my face.
And by the at some point, I'm like, I can't do this
You
anymore.
always leave me by myself,
I gotta go.
which
get-
is honestly the best time when I'm
gotta
by
go get-
myself because then I can take my time to hurry.
It's
It's like when you're shopping with your wife, but she's annoyed by it.
Oh,
You know what I mean? She's
sure.
like, I just wish you would leave me alone. It was that. It's that.
I'm the
feeling.
wife in that story.
Yeah, you're the wife.
Sick.
it's really it's really sick.
Sick.
It's really nice to just, it is nice to just walk around and sort of not. And I told myself, I was like, I'll make like a daily video when I'm out there. And then, but I had enough videos like stored up that I didn't need to do that. And I was like, I was just enjoying NAMM and, you know, just like, I wanted to like maybe talk with a couple brands and see if someone would send me some stuff. You know, like doing these daily videos of kind of like, you know, you could use some topics sometimes. Nice to play a new guitar. And that didn't really happen. Fessly is going to send me the telly, but they were going to do that already.
Fessly Telly.
Yeah, it also has Wilkinson pickups.
Mm.
It's kind of the telly version of that. So I was going to check that out. But the Octave guys are going to send one of those to me.
Oh, cool.
They said they're
that's
ready
cool.
to ship next month. They had the packaging done. They had everything done. It's aluminum case now. Comes with a couple things preloaded on. So like I think it's like gig something software, THU. It comes with a couple things loaded on there, which is nice. A gig performer, if you know that. Gig performer is kind of like a DAW, but it's meant to run VSTs live.
I was just gonna
So
say
you can launch a VST and then you can actually draw your signal chain to the other VSTs. It's
because I was gonna say remind me what their solution for like because it's a VST player, but like you can't just you don't normally just want to have one.
yeah.
You would normally want to have several.
Yeah, so anything you can do in a DAW, you could run on this and you could record it. You know what I mean? You could basically run your DAW right there.
Okay.
You know, you could run the tracks. You know, if you wanted to play with a record that you've recorded all the parts and you want to sing and play guitar live, this might be
could
the
do
thing
that.
to do it. You know, there's other things obviously.
So it's essentially like a computer.
It's a Windows 11 machine.
Right.
And what they did was, I don't really understand what they've been working on, but they made sure that all the hardware components inside would like work properly, and it's like hard coded or something. So it's not everything that's like Windows 11 software is Windows 11 compatible works on it, but apparently you're not going to have, it's some special Windows 11 where you can like edit things that it won't do. So it's like pre-done to not like go check your email or go do all these other things.
For sure.
You know, so I don't really know what they call that, but they had a name for it. I can't remember. But it seemed like a great thing. And I mean, you could run tracks from it.
Yeah.
You know, it totally could. I was like, I could both run plugins
Because you
to be
can
my
program, like, you know, in Logic, you can program a MIDI controller to like run playback from Logic.
yeah.
So I assume that that's kind of what they're doing.
Yeah, and it comes with a wireless Bluetooth controller, like a 4-button controller, and you can plug an expression pedal into that.
Oh, I see.
So, you know, you can just charge both of those and you can do it wirelessly. You can have it as a foot controller on
I
the
thought it
ground.
had buttons on it.
It not foot buttons. It has all the input ins and outs.
So this is like one step better than having your laptop on the stage, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
You know.
All right.
I like it.
I'll
Yeah.
allow it.
Yeah.
It'll be here.
I'm excited to try it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
were all like so stoked about it.
We were,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I guess they kind of went back to the drawing board and just said they had to rebuild everything.
Although
You know, it was like a
last
total-
NAMM,
and it's a little smaller. It is
yeah,
smaller.
last year at NAMM, I hadn't started doing Metal Junkie profiles yet,
Yeah, that's true.
and so my own personal needs for something like that
Right.
have changed a lot. But anyway,
I did see Spira guitars.
Oh yeah, you sent me. That's the one picture you sent me.
That's true. I was like, dude, does your guitar have this?
I was like, yes.
And
it
what
does.
is that? It's like a little rubber band that stops string noise.
Yeah, it's all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm trying to think what else was cool.
The picture that you sent had my exact guitar.
I know, I
recognized
recognized it. Yeah. Well, and the model I sent you was your exact one. They had two of them.
Oh, they
two
did?
green identical
green
ones.
ones?
Yeah. Marshall had some cool stuff. You know, they have Marshall, so innovative. They released a new Plexi and JCM 800 with switches that are mods. So it's like there's 3 switches with like 3 positions. And I think they finally figured out, hey, there's whole companies that have made a brand around modding our
Just
amps.
changing our designs.
We could mod our own amps.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what they did. So it's like you can buy a Plexi or JCM 800 now with...
What are the mods?
I'm not even sure. One, I think one like adds gain. One can like
Because I think
add...
that's the thing. Like people say like modded Marshall. But
usually it implies more gain, tighter bass.
In what way was it modded?
Yeah, exactly.
We have no idea.
We
I
modified
believe-
it how exactly?
Yeah.
I think what I saw was these. At least one of the switches is a more gain, or there's a gain level thing, and then it might even add another stage, another drive
So
stage.
it wasn't like the modded Marshall Jace because the original 800 had no master volume, right?
Correct.
So that was like the initial
No,
mod.
the initial 800 has one. It's a master volume. There's a master volume on the first 800.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
What was the one? I guess it was the Plexi then that had no master volume.
Yeah. JM.
So that was
Plexi,
in the JMP.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the original mod. Was let's add a master volume to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
when the
it's
2204 and
crushingly loud.
2203 comes out.
That's why.
Yeah, they give a master
Especially
volume.
out of like a double.
Yeah, and they
like a
realized you
full
could
stack.
get drive. Like in the 70s, it was in the 70s they were the first 2203 and 2204 were labeled master volume like lead or something or
I was actually just researching the 2203.
yeah. So the first JCM 800 that comes out is the identical amp before it that's labeled 2203 2204. Then the JCM 800 changes to its own thing. But the first JCM 800 is the identical amps that they were selling before that were branded
Artist 2203 or whatever.
Yeah. Not artist, but yeah.
I
But
thought
2203,
okay, so then the
2204.
Artist 2203 is something different that came later.
I'd have to see the
Because
amp
isn't
to
there
know which
one
you're
that's
talking
like
about exactly.
it's like a solid state power section or something? Isn't that part of? Maybe I read it wrong.
I don't think
know.
so.
That was
That
weird.
amp probably exists, but I
Yeah.
don't think.
It's not called the 2203.
No.
Oh, okay.
2203 and 2204 are the 50 watt and 100 watt version
Okay.
of that late master volume Marshall in the late 70s. The JCM 800 I think comes out in 81 and has that same circuit for 2 years, and then in 83 the JCM 800 circuit changes to what we call now a JCM 800.
Oh, okay.
And they, in different eras of Marshalls, they were named after different people I think in his family: JTM, JMP, and then JCM, and then yeah, they've stuck with JCM now on the 2000s and everything. So
I was also looking at dual super leads and triple super leads, but
yeah,
Not the quadruples.
not the quadruples.
the DSLs are cool amps, man. I
know,
had
right?
one of those.
Did you?
And yeah,
That may be coming.
yeah. The triples always had like the triple combos were notorious for breaking.
Yeah.
And
They just also have too many knobs.
I've heard people
The
say
thought
the
of-
triples don't sound as good as the
The thought of
DSLs.
profiling a triple super lead
Yeah.
gives me anxiety just from the number of knobs.
Where are you
that
going
they
to set
have.
it?
So
It's like
in terms of profiling,
much.
the
Yeah.
DSL and the TSL
They'd be
would probably
pretty
come
big.
out the same because the
Yeah.
DSL has the crunch and the lead channel on the
Right.
dirty channel.
yeah.
So but the TSL let you have 3 sounds at your feet. The DSL was 2, and you had to select.
Oh, I was for some reason thinking that the triple super lead was more like the dual rectifier versus the triple rectifier. That it was actually
No.
another rectifying stage.
So this is the thing. It's supposed to be like
Ah.
the same amp, but people will often say the DSL sounds better, and maybe that has to do somehow with the topology of having more pots or shared tubes. I don't know. But the DSL you can choose between. On the second channel, I believe it's yeah, clean or crunch. Remember, I'm thinking JCM or
Metal Junkie season 2 is underway. So
Yeah. There you go. A DSL.
a
is probably
DSL
on
might
its
be
way.
in more Marshalls might be in the future.
It's cool.
And I want to get my hands on one of these modded Marshalls because it's like you tried it at NAMM, you never tried it at all.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
So there's that.
Hmm.
I heard it sounded good. Tonex did not release anything new. The CEO of Tonex did say, should I call you Jonathan or HW? I laughed and said Jonathan. He said, or should I call you Oracle? And then he walked away. And I said,
That's an interesting interaction.
very.
Yeah.
And I said, and I was thinking, is he telling me I'm right about my prediction? The guys from Tonex, because I predicted they would have a new thing at NAMM and they would release it on the last day, or they would show it secretly to only a small number of people to get feedback. And
There's probably that option.
the guy Chris at NAMM said that after I made that video, he was getting emails like, "Send me the new thing. Can I see it? I saw Tony's video. I know he has it."
Oh.
And I was laughing. I found that hilarious.
Yeah.
I know he has it.
So funny.
Well, I
How
can
else
see
could-
it off camera. It's right
How
over
else
there.
could
yeah.
he know about it?
How could he know that?
Yeah.
For sure.
I want to play that, by the way, afterwards. The Tonex floorboard.
Oh, don't point to it.
People are like,
Please
Yeah.
don't point to it.
It's smaller than I thought. It's cool.
it's smaller than I thought.
Yeah.
Someone even made a doctored photo that was just the corner of a unit that said Tone Master, or it said
Oh.
Tonex Pro. It was like an AI thing, and they put it up and they put it online like it was a leak. But it was like made of metal, and it was like silver. And I was like, this is not.
It was really just the corner of a quad cortex.
Yeah, not even that. It looked like someone had made it in their garage. Like it was, it almost looked like it was gonna be like diamond plate steel, like made like that.
So they were just showing off the cap.
Yeah. But dude,
Tonex cap.
NAMM didn't have a ton. You know what one of the coolest products was? Rev had 412s that instead of a speaker like grill was an LED screen. And it
Wait,
was,
what?
imagine a 412. Instead of a basket
cloth?
grill cloth, it's just an LED screen. And you can put your amp on top.
And the speakers are behind it, or there are no
There
speakers?
are no speakers, so they said they will make a version with speakers behind it. But obviously, they'd need to test and make sure that you could throw 100 decibels out of that thing.
So you're sure to ruin your LED.
Yeah. But they said actually, like magnetically, the LED was fine. They said they could put it on the head too, but they were actually going to sell them. They were like, for tours and stuff, we're going to make them available for bands that want to be able to put graphics in. So they said, NAMM 2025. They had all these great videos playing, and you could link them all together. So they had 8 412s, and it was a giant screen.
It's basically an LED wall put on cabinets.
Exactly. And you could just turn them back to black when you don't want to show them. So you could see how it could be,
Back
it
to
could
black.
look very rock and roll, and then
Right.
all of a sudden it can change. And that's very cool. I immediately went up to those guys and said, "You listen, there's a market for these, and it's churches." And they were like, "Yeah, maybe." I was like, "No, you don't understand." The one thing I said, churches wanted to go silent. They hate amps, but they love LED walls more than they hate amps. So this
It brings up a good point.
is
It's
how
so true.
yeah.
this is how we're gonna get amps back in church.
I was actually...
And
Is
I said,
make them the LED
and I said,
wall.
listen, you sell these to churches and you sell them a video pack, and the video pack is just a static shot of pallets leaning against a wall. You're gonna sell
Oh my gosh.
a million of these
Wow.
things
Right.
because churches love LED walls and pallets. But those two aesthetics don't go together.
Until
Now
they
can.
do.
Until they do.
Until they
do.
Wow.
They will be demanding that we get amps back on stage.
I
they
was
can
just-
put modelers into the LED wall,
Right.
and so it's all in one behind the band sitting there.
Yeah.
Boom.
Wow.
I was going to tell as soon as you said that about the churches and LED, because I was thinking my church on Sunday, like the LED wall, like freaked out in the middle of service,
Yeah.
and they had to reboot it.
How many people go to your church?
Like just under 1,000 probably.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, this LED wall is like
So there's more LEDs than people. I'm just kidding.
by
By pixels.
by an order of magnitude.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Order of magnitude.
Yeah, volume 1 coming soon.
Hmm.
But yeah, it rebooted halfway through the service,
Yeah.
and it did this thing where like each panel flashed white for a second.
Yeah.
Like in a pattern.
Yeah, like every row, every section, like was.
yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have a seizure. My
Wow.
wife. I look at my wife and she's like this.
Yeah.
Can't watch it.
But I was like, man, they're expensive too. But anyway, churches, yes, they do love it.
Yeah, and they were one of the things they were like, if you pick one of those up, it's surprisingly light because you see a 412, you think it's going to be heavy, but they're like,
Yeah.
the LED panel is so light.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah,
four.
there's no speakers.
four
in it.
green-
yeah,
greenbacks.
four. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would just think that you would have to. You couldn't have a solid LED panel and speakers behind it, and it still sound good.
Probably wouldn't sound good. So they were
you would
talking
have
about
to have
like,
it be like a grill.
yeah.
Mm.
From what I understand, though, in the bowl in Las Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
the speakers are behind the screen because it's a continuous screen. So they designed a sound system that actually sits behind the screen and is distributed through the thing to get sound inside.
I guess that's how movie theaters work too, but they're not LED walls.
No, and sometimes you see you can see speakers on the side, like of things for the surround sound, right?
Yeah, the main speakers though on
Yeah, are in front of the screen.
are behind
Yeah.
the screen. Yeah,
I guess if you can just test like this,
I guess. I mean,
you can make a screen that's probably like acoustically pretty, like
inert.
negligent or something. Inert's a better
Dang.
word than I was gonna say.
Those are both good words.
Yeah,
Smart people.
yeah. There you go. Invisible, acoustically invisible.
Yeah.
I mean that could work. So yeah, that was all. I
That's
saw at
cool,
NAMM.
though. I like that.
That was it,
Yeah,
huh?
it was cool.
I like seeing products at NAMM that you're like, man, I never would have thought of that.
What was the
Oh,
one
I-
last year we liked? Remember that booth we were like over the moon about? It was like the big pink like speakers and like the guitars.
Oh,
Oh,
the
that
guitar-
was there. That was there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah?
They're still there.
We actually thought
guitars
that was
with the
the
rubber
Cream. I think it's
duckies
called
and
Cream.
cream.
Yes.
Crema.
Cream City or something like
Cream
that. It's
guitars?
I think it's Cream.
They're
Yeah.
from South America.
Oh, so one more
That was
thing.
the best. They were cool.
There was one that had like
Yeah, there's a panel.
e-ink.
Yes.
Oh, it changed colors.
yeah,
changed
they had
colors.
several
That
of those
was
this
it.
time.
Yeah.
There was one. It looked
Did
like
you
if you
pick
touch
one of
it-
those up?
No, they're so heavy.
Heavy.
So heavy.
Good land.
Like
Why
20
not-
pounds.
They should build one with an LED screen on it, where you can just put.
That's not a
different
bad
stuff.
idea.
Not terrible. There was another company that had. Have you heard of the fart pedal? So there's a fart
Yes.
pedal,
Yeah.
and
We
when
got
you
no reaction from us. We're just like,
when you input something, it just plays random fart noises.
Oh,
It's called the
gosh.
fart pedal. They made and there's a wet and dry
Oh my
switch,
no,
and then there's a power. It's called the power knob, I think. Then they made a mini one called the little tutor. But
This is like our idea for Christian ones.
Yeah.
okay,
Dang.
but guess what they
Except
had?
they really did it.
They made it.
but guess and this when you played, it played a digital fart. It
So
had like
you played nothing. It there was no output. But
no
then you
output.
play a
When you
G
played
chord, it
something,
farts.
It would play one of like 20 samples of a real fart
It
sound.
hears input and says, "Here's a fart."
Yeah.
But it's not there's no note compatibility.
just-
it's
no.
just fart sounds.
Until this year.
Oh,
Now, and I walked up and the dude, listen, this is a ridiculous product, but the guy knew it and he was so just like happy about it.
For
oh
sure.
yeah.
And so he was like, so this was called the fart pedal, and it was called the new fart pedal. I think it was called Fart Pedal Deluxe, and the slogan was "We just dropped number two."
Wow.
And this,
I'm so happy about this.
This one tracked your playing,
Sure.
and I picked it up and I said, "Does it track pretty well?" And he goes, "It tries." and you know what?
Wow.
As soon as I started playing, I realized that's exactly how I would describe it. I would say it got every four out of 5 notes.
It's trying its best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just got every 4 out of 5
The
notes.
best part of that is that it doesn't matter. It's like good enough.
Good
No.
enough.
You know, if
Right.
someone made
And-
like an octave pedal that tried,
Yeah.
It's not
be like-
make or break. It's
It
like if I'm
tries.
going to buy it or
yeah.
not.
It tries.
What was the price point?
Yeah. So this is where we it was $249.
oh my gosh,
Good lands.
you're like I was with you until then.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and
For $89, it's a gag.
well,
but
it's not cheap to make, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the but if you pre-ordered at the show, you also got a free fart pedal T-shirt. And
that might be worth it.
yeah, so I did not do that.
no,
But
not for $249.
there also
You can buy most of a Fesley guitar for $249.
Brian
With a coupon.
Yeah. Brian and I ran into a pedal at one of these Chinese booths that has like no name. And they had a whole bunch of pedals, like maybe eight pedals, a full line of mini pedals with a lot of really interesting cartoon artwork. I was like, these look cool. They had cool names. It was like a chicken with like holding like an orb, and it was like, and it would say like the Defender. And it was like a compressor. It's like none of it made sense. And they had one, and it was called Shit Power. And it was an illustration of like a little pile of dog doo-doo with buff arms and eyes and like a
That's the
smile.
power. Yeah.
And it was like flexing, and it said shit power. And
What was the effect?
it was a clean boost.
Seems right.
I love that.
It was a clean boost.
That's so great.
And we went up to the lady and we said, wow, these pedals look great. And she's like, yes, our designer made them all. And, you know, we're chatting, and Brian said, how much? And she goes, for one, you know, and we're like, yeah, we're not ordering 1,000. We're not trying to distribute these. And, you know,
Right.
And she's like, I think they're going to retail for about $80. And he goes, I got to buy one of these. And then she goes, we can sell them here. They're not allowed to, but she said you can. And he goes, oh, I got $40. And she's like, oh, no, I cannot sell for $40. He's like, are you sure? I'll take it right now, $40. And she would not sell us one for $40. So
Mini pedals? Full size.
mini, about the size of a Tonex one.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
We should buy all of them and try to make a mini pedal board.
they seem to have some pretty, you know, decent stuff. I saw a pedal company that said they were from Nashville, Tennessee. Walked up, guy had the thickest German accent. I walked up and I said, hey, I'm from Nashville too. And then, you know, he's like, I don't know how to do a German accent. But he, you know, he's like, I am actually from, you know,
Right.
and I just laughed. And he said, everybody finds it funny.
Yeah. He's like, I'm from
And,
Nuremberg, but I moved to Nashville last year.
No, he had just been hired to do the booth.
Oh.
He was like, I don't know, he
Oh,
flew in to
interesting.
do the, I don't really understand the whole thing.
There's a whole story there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They couldn't have,
I don't know. He couldn't have got some from LA.
they
to do.
couldn't have gotten a cheaper plane
Yeah.
ticket.
Right.
So that was about all that was
Get
new
that guy
I
from
saw.
Germany to fly to LA for this. This is gonna be great.
I did see Martin had a double neck, a 12 string.
Shut up.
Yeah, $8,000.
You thought about it.
Yeah,
Of course.
Sir had. I mean, I'm not gonna pay that.
I will say
I told
this.
everyone $4,000, and I'd be like, maybe I should buy this guitar. This would be a cool guitar to have. Like, it's so unique. They're not gonna make many of them, but $8,000 is the price of two guitars.
yeah.
Like more,
Very nice
more than
Martins,
I would
yeah.
pay. So
Yeah,
it's like
boy.
you guys.
Yeah, that's two really nice Martins.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
That's okay. Martin and Taylor are two brands that I always play at NAMM.
yes.
Well, Taylor wasn't there last time, or were they? I don't remember. There was one year that we went years ago,
Mhm.
and we played that like mini one,
Mhm.
that Taylor,
Yeah.
and it was like, man, this thing is so awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like $4,000.
Yes.
And Martin does the same thing, and I'm like, why, you guys? This is so much money. It's so much.
They have more affordable guitars, and like what I was nostalgic about is
Dang.
Yamaha brought back the FG series and the FS series. If you don't know what I'm talking about, remember any cheap Yamaha acoustic from high school era?
Mhm.
They're those back reissued and like trying to be affordable, and they looked exactly the same.
Wow.
I'm like, that's Brian's guitar that he used to keep in the back of his car, and we would play at the beach.
Right.
You know, it's like the plain black pick guard and everything. And unfortunately, it costs like $1,200.
Dang.
That's wild.
Everything's too much now.
Everything is expensive, man.
Everything is
Everything
expensive.
is expensive.
Wow. Well, sounds like it was fun.
I had fun
Not being there.
not being at NAMM.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. You know, the show is smaller.
We were gonna go to lunch, but then my daughter got sick, and then
I was all ready to.
I know I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said smaller.
Yeah, you know,
Does it feel sad?
no.
Not like Nashville did.
So I know, like, yeah, not like that.
That was rough.
So I think we're past the point of like people saying NAMM is dead.
Hmm.
Because what I kept hearing was like people were like, the show is like kind of back, but it's different.
Mm-hmm.
Fender and Gibson were there, but they weren't showing on the floor. They had private rooms upstairs. Fender had made a whole demo studio. You can see it in the demos that they did with like for Andertons. What they did was they basically invited certain people, celebrities and stuff, to go up to their giant room where they had 2 stools and their new stuff and amps and just play them. And they filmed it. And so Fender was just like, let's just get a very select few people who are here at the show and show them our stuff in this big place. Gibson too had a private room. And so, you know, the public can't get in. And I think it's interesting that, because what I noticed is this year, creators had like a creator lounge, there were these rooms with cameras and lights, and you could just reserve them for an hour or 2 hours, whatever you wanted to do. And you could just set stuff up. They had all sorts of equipment. So they want you to be able to make content there. This year I didn't get a media pass. The media passes were divided into like content creator, influencer, and then it was like, there was other ones like, professional player or something like that. And so they were trying to like identify people a little more, I think. And I thought it was interesting that Gibson and Fender were like, we want to be here at the show. We're not going to pull the universal audio thing where it's like, we'll pay a couple people to come a couple days early, like come 2 days before the show and come to Universal Audio and we'll show you in a studio what we have. They were at the show, but it was like invite only. They didn't want the mass there.
Right.
And the mass of people are now being viewed as, content creators come in all sizes and shapes,
Right.
So NAMM is no longer fat phobic.
Yeah, because like back in the day, NAMM was like they were very, very strict about who was let in.
Yeah, they wanted you to be a buyer, or media was like a magazine.
Yeah, media was like guitar. If you didn't work for Guitar World magazine, it was difficult to get a media pass.
Yeah, and then and you'd have to like submit your credentials and stuff.
Right.
And now I noticed they just, everybody who got did you guys get invites in your email? Yeah. So like I saw a couple of people with
like anyone who went last year, anyone who's been before, they want them to come again.
Yeah. And it seemed like you could just say you were a content creator, and they didn't ask me for any verification. Last year, I thought they asked me for more verification.
Yeah, one year you had to submit your channel.
Yeah, and so it seemed like they're understanding that there's not a ton of buyers. And the days of NAMM, like, it used to be, a company like Roland would maybe write like 80% of their purchase orders in a week at the show.
Right.
It's like what they're going to sell.
Trade shows aren't what they used to be.
And now it just feels like all these brands. And you know what? It's funny. There were some booths where I felt like the people there didn't really want to talk to people. They just had this stuff out and they were like not interested.
Right.
The Jet booth, I must have gone to that place 3 times and checked out a bunch of guitars, and no, they wouldn't talk to me. They just looked at me and stuff.
Right.
Then, so it was Spira, Jet, and this other little company like Fley or something. And they had mini basses. Like it was a mini jazz bass. I was like, "Do you guys have octave guitars?" They were like, "No, just mandolins that look like electric guitars." I was like, "Have you guys ever thought about making octave guitars? Like, no one's really making them right now." They were like, "No octave guitars." I was like, "Okay." What about
Good talk?
Yeah, I was like, "What about this octave bass?" I was like, "Is this tune the same as a bass?" They were like, "Yes." It was like a mini J bass, like this big. And I picked it up, started playing it, and then the lady was like, "Show special, 300." I was like, "Oh, it's for sale?" And they were like, "Mm-hmm." I was thinking, do you have any vested interest in anyone doing business with this company, or are you just selling? You won't talk to me. You don't seem to just have a car. You're trying to sell me his bass. Yeah. And I said, "Okay." And she was like, "It's normally 400." I was like, "Okay."
That's the thing. People at NAMM are no longer thought of as distributors.
Right.
They're thought of as potential
and
buyers.
it said content creator on my thing, but they're surely not there to sell one guitar at the end of NAMM.
No, of course not. But
it made me think they were going to tell the company the guitar broke in shipping or something, or they lost it, and they were going to take that $300 and go to dinner. That's what it made me think.
Korean barbecue.
I was like, you 4 are going to go buy dinner, and you're, 1 or 2 of these samples are going to disappear.
Yeah.
It was pretty smart, actually.
Yeah.
Well, glad you went. Glad you had fun.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. Any new guitars on the horizon? Anybody getting anything?
Nothing new.
John, you got your eye in? Since you have that Spira, and I saw those Jets, and a lot of people have been saying you got to check out Jet guitars. Jet's one of those ones I've heard about, and I looked at some of them at NAMM, and they seemed nice.
You play one?
Yeah, played a couple. Right? Yeah, they weren't set up great at NAMM, but you can't. It's like, are these the guitars you've been showing for the last 3 years, and they only come out here? You know what I mean?
Right.
And like I said, they had no vibe of we care what's going on here.
Right.
Yeah. You can only stand around with your hands in your pockets so long looking at these guitars and picking them up before you
Yeah.
go, nobody wants to talk to me here. And there's no one else at the booth. And I'm looking at the four of them just talking to each other. I'm like,
Right.
they don't want, they're engaged at the level they wish to engage.
Right.
Right.
You know.
They just want to go home. Yeah.
No, I've got amps on the way, but no new guitars.
Yeah.
Amps
Well.
are cool. Turn it up to 11.
Yeah, these ones you don't need to.
You don't need to.
It's just gaining the whole way up. Not used to that.
Yeah.
Well, Guitar Friends episode, is come to an end.
Episode this.
Yeah. It's good to be back.
It's good to be back.
Yeah.
It's good to be back.
2025.
2025. It's going to be a good year.
Yeah.
Oh, you were going to, I mean, maybe we're out of time, but you were going to talk about the daily videos.
go
How's
as
that been going?
Let's go as long as we want.
How's that been going for the channel?
It's been going really well. Look, I'll share with you some numbers here for the viewers. So I decided to do a video every day, and
For the year, you've committed. Is that still happening?
my wife is asking me if I can pick up the kids. I'm gonna say yes, I can. If you would
365
like.
videos.
That's a lot of
seems like a
videos,
lot
right?
So it's a lot of videos. So
Yeah.
before I went to NAMM, I was ahead, I think at one point, 11 videos. Not fully, but I had maybe 8 shot and edited. And maybe 3 of those I also had thumbnails and titles. And I had filmed a couple more. So I had like 11, you know what I mean? Like I was working on. And then I started eating those up the next like 3 days while I edited and prepared the other videos. And then I worked on a pack and stuff. And so when I went to NAMM, though, I had it all covered. And I've got tomorrow's video done too. And I filmed some today. So I'm trying to stay ahead. So, this is riveting. So let me pull out the numbers here.
I was just admiring how quickly you can type with one thumb.
Thank you. So normally in a month, this is very recent. So after about 28 days of posting every day, normally in a month I would get, the Tone Jiggy channel would get between 100 and 124,000 views. In this last 28 days, it's gone to 500,000 views, 502.
Seriously, wow.
Yeah. Now, one of those was that big Trump guitar. That was a lot of views. But even without that,
No, it's pretty. It's substantial.
It's a big lift, you know. Watch hours went from 7 to 9,000 to 42,000.
Wow.
So there's a lot of watching going on. And then subscribers went from on average, about 300, about 250 to 340
Per month you're
per
gaining.
month.
Okay.
I gained 2,600.
Wow.
So that's a huge lift.
7 times.
Yeah. And then revenue wise, the channel always makes, I would say in a low month, it'd be like 380. It'd be close to 400. And then like sometimes a month might be high, like 525. You know, sometimes it would peak over 500. And in this 28-day period, 2,050.
Dang.
So that's a lot. And then now one of those videos though, that Trump video, accounted for like
Half of it.
700.
Okay.
Like 690.
That
So,
one video did.
like
did
did a
whole
lot.
month.
Yeah.
Yeah. or
So
more
I
than
mean,
a whole month.
like did normally what a month would do. So you know that kind of had the big.
But it's a.
But even if you take that away,
It's a momentum thing.
yeah, it's still it still is having the 3 to 4x time support. Right, everything seems to be at 4 to 5x. But if you take that one video away, it's still at the 3x, 3 to 4x, 3 to 3.5x.
What I think is interesting is it wasn't like cumulative, like over the month, like basically right away. Like the videos started getting over 2,000 or 3,000 each, right? Like
I had a stretch where I think for 8 days, every video got at least 5,000 in the first day.
which used to be
That
that
would
would
be
be
a
a
great
great
video.
performing
Yeah.
video. Yeah.
Yeah, and I, there was the new Tonex one, and that helped. That was like 19,000 one day, and then I think the next video you do. But
Yeah.
I've been surprised by what takes off and what doesn't. You know, it's like I would say it's like I feel like 66% accurate. Like 2/3 of the time, if I feel something's good, it is going to perform average or better, and then 1/3 of the time it's going to underperform. And if I feel like something's going to underperform, you know, like this is a weaker title, weaker whatever, subject matter's not as good. It's like 1/3 of the time it'll surprise you. So like yesterday, I just did a video that it's called I was wrong about cheap guitars. Like that's it. And it's kind of a follow-up to the one I did before, which is like, check out this. And it did really well. It did like 5,000, almost 5,000 the first day, like 4,700. And then the next day, today, that we're filming this, I did $300 versus $3,000 guitar, like Strat shootout. I think it's called Festley versus Fender. But the title was 3,000 versus 300 or 300 versus 3,000 Strat shootout. And it's the worst performing video of the last 10. Now it's still so like even those ones that are performing less are still performing good compared to what I was doing before. So it's definitely up, but I'm still kind of surprised at what there seems to be some randomness, but it seems to be, but people are tuning in every day, which is really cool. You know, it's really cool. So
don't stop now. You have 11 more months.
I have a list of subject matters. Yeah. But I have a list of subject matters that
nice.
You know, everything from like Marshall must do this. You know, Fender must do this, you know. Do this before you buy a vintage guitar, you know.
I gotcha. Top 5, fill in the blank.
Yeah. Top 5 ways to die while fingering
playing,
a G chord.
That'll be like an April video.
Could be a
like
good
we're getting low on ideas.
Yeah.
Right.
The phrase fingering a G chord too. It's rough.
That's true.
Well, it's at the end of the podcast.
It's a rough
podcast. Nobody's
it's a
here
rough
anymore.
Nobody's
phrase.
here.
But it's really good. What I'm realizing is YouTube rewards. I think that I've always heard that YouTube rewards consistency, but I've also heard people say the scheduling on YouTube is like part of it. And so I've heard like a lot of
scheduling, as in like what time of the day you release a video.
Like YouTube seems to observe, like even if you do every Friday at 10 a.m., it's on a schedule.
Oh,
because I would hear that pedal show say that.
Right.
You know, and there's some other YouTube-y people that would, you know, talk about YouTube and the YouTube algorithm. They would say YouTube really likes a consistent schedule. If it sees you're doing things at the same time. And I heard one guy say, and it makes sense because it knows with a high probability that the audience it served before is going to have the same behavior. So, you know, for example, if you're a brand YouTube channel that releases a video every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m., you're probably hitting people in front of their computer at work, people who are off at 10 a.m., whatever. The availability in their schedule is kind of consistent. And his idea was like, YouTube is smart enough to know what you watch in the morning versus what you watch at night. You know, things that you watch to go to sleep, it'll start recommending to you. It's smart. It can figure out, hey, they always watch this stuff at night. I can see that. So the scheduling thing, assuming people have daily schedules that repeat themselves daily and weekly, it kind of makes sense that it would find success serving the same audience. So I think the every day at 9 a.m. thing works because there's got to be some people who watch and they're like, I'm available every day at 9 a.m. because I hate my job. And you know what I mean? I'm wasting time.
I got to work and I go to Tone
Yeah.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
Like there's a woodworking channel that I watch and he drops a video every Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And every Saturday morning I get my coffee and I turn on the TV and it's always the first one recommended to me.
Yeah. And it knows. You know, you're in
And
the thing.
I
it's
always
like,
watch it.
yeah. And it's like,
Just like
and
TV
it knows.
used to be,
yeah.
right?
It's like TV
Friday
used to
night,
be.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And YouTube's smart. It knows like, man,
And it doesn't recommend that channel to me on my computer at all,
right.
ever.
Interesting. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I noticed my
Someone knows
YouTube.
where you're watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed my YouTube is almost like no longer like messed up by my kids watching videos on the way to school. So they will watch like certain creators on the way to school, like one of 3 creators in the car on the way to school. But I'm not getting those recommendations anymore.
I haven't figured out how to remove BookTube from all my daughter's watches, like book reviews.
It must whatever the timing and stuff
like-
must be too scattered for it to identify.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
also it's not child content. I think there must be something where it goes,
Yeah.
hey, there's a large discrepancy between the average age of most of the stuff he watches, like on average,
Right.
versus this one thing that sticks out. It's
Right.
like, you know, video game content or animated content.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, this one is the book reviews, although it's, you know, YA romance book reviews probably doesn't fit in with the rest of what
Good stuff. Do you
That
think
and metal.
Do you think if you started a
Woodworking.
channel, do you think if you started a channel reviewing metal music and those books, it could do well? Like there could be a niche?
Little crossover.
I don't want to think about the type of person that's really into both of those things at the same time.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
YouTube thinks it's you.
That's right.
That's so true.
The Chinese think it's you.
Yeah. The Chinese?
I assume they're
Yeah.
watching us.
Yeah.
I guess so.
I assume they're watching us.
I
aren't
just
they?
agree with him all the time.
Sure. Makes it easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I assume they're watching.
Well, they are.
You heard about this new AI?
No,
that-
no.
Okay.
Didn't TikTok get banned?
Yeah, but it's back. Trump brought it back.
Oh, it brought back already.
Brought it back
saved
right
it.
away. Unless you delete it off your phone. Did you hear about this? You can't re-download it. If you were one of the people who was like, it doesn't work anymore, I'm deleting it from my phone because you want to keep a clean phone, it's not back in the App Store because I think Apple hasn't brought it back, but the servers, the Oracle servers are back online.
This is why my Facebook Marketplace, I'm getting fed
You saw
phones that
Phones that have
still
TikTok
have TikTok.
installed.
$1,200.
Yes.
Stop
Dude,
it.
yes.
Never. And
yes.
it shows a picture, never deleted. That makes sense.
Because
okay.
Apple, there's only one app store. If it's see, you won't see a Google phone or you won't see an Android phone because you can just go any other app. If they didn't put it, I think they did put it back up, but any other they could go to
Apple
any other.
hasn't put it back up yet.
Nope.
And won't, or they just haven't yet.
So TikTok has 90 days to get compliant. So they have 90
What
days.
is the new compliancy rules?
Okay, so the reason it was banned was because Congress passed
The podcast was almost done, and
no,
then we just
resurgence.
opened a whole new can of
yeah.
worms.
Congress passed this law and it didn't go into effect until that day. It
Yeah,
went
yeah.
into effect one day before the new president.
Right.
So Joe Biden said, we're not enforcing this for 36 hours or whatever.
Sure.
Correct? You know what I mean? Like I'm literally getting
He's
on
like,
my
"This is
plane to
not
go
my
home."
problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So he
By
said,
the way, you can't. But yeah. By the way, all these people are pardoned. Bye.
right.
That's what Biden did.
He did
anyway, Sorry.
So
It's late enough in the
It's okay.
podcast.
Yeah. He pardoned 5 Bidens going back to 2014. He picked that date, not in this term, but he was like these 5 people. And by the way, that does not include Jill and Hunter. He pardoned Hunter separately.
Right.
He pardoned 5 other people with the last name Biden, out of nowhere literally in the last 15 minutes. It's not a list of pardon. It's a list of guilty people who received foreign money.
I was just gonna say, isn't a pardon the
These are preemptive.
last?
These are-
preemptive
These are
pardons
preemptive pardons, John.
is the most ridiculous horseshit
And what
I've
I
ever
love
heard
is
of. I'm
what
sorry.
I love is there's footage of Biden saying.
I would say that if Trump did this too.
Yes.
By the way,
Well,
that's a horrible.
And that's
thing.
what they said when
Right.
he was leaving office. They said, we're worried about preemptive pardons. He never said anything about preemptive pardons. They invented preemptive pardons in
Right.
2020 when he was on his way out and said, we're concerned he's going to do this.
Right, and then
we're
they
concerned
did
he's
it.
going to do this. There's a clip of Biden go, I'm very concerned about the precedents it sets for a president to issue preemptive pardons.
Wow.
and then he did it 4 years
And then he's
later.
the first president to do it. And he did it for all sorts of people. Did it for Liz Cheney. Did it for Fauci.
I know.
It's like, what the heck,
That's
dude?
the thing that I almost lost it. Anyway, so sorry.
Yes.
So TikTok.
And it,
We don't have to dwell
listen,
on this.
it's almost like
This is your fault. John.
I've opened 2 cans of
This is
worms
your fault.
simultaneously.
now, what do they say about the preemptive pardons?
All right.
We're doing it to protect these people from retaliation. Oh, so it's your opinion that the Justice Department is not an independent litigator and can be used as a tool to intimidate
Right.
and persuade your political opponents.
Right.
You're saying that's possible in the judicial because
Right.
you've been claiming that's not possible.
Right.
And the charges against Trump, we couldn't even manipulate the judicial system if we tried. But magically, it's like we need preemptive pardons to protect
Right.
against the justice system being used as a tool for political retaliation. It's like, oh, wow, my mind, the last 15 minutes has your mind changed
Yeah.
on how all this went. But anyway,
My, how far they have come.
I will say this, it's much to their detriment because I really believe if they hadn't put all these court cases against him, the guy wouldn't have been fighting for his life. Because
Right.
at the end of the day, why is this 80-something-year-old man, is he 70-something? 70-something-year-old man not sleeping for 40 hours on his last couple days before November 8th or 12th or whatever it is? Why is this guy staying up all night doing this podcast, flying here, doing this, overnight rallies? Because he's gonna live on Rikers Island or the White House.
Right.
Those are his next
Those
two
are his
possible
options.
residencies,
Totally.
right? And so
Yeah.
you corner an animal and you make him fight for his life.
Right.
And I think, you know what I mean? It's just,
yeah.
And so at the end of the day, it's like, well, you lost, but maybe you would have, you know, maybe he would have shown his age a little bit and he would have slowed down if the stakes weren't so high. But anyway, TikTok. So they passed a law that just basically said this. They said, look, if a company, Rand Paul went crazy about this, by the way. He said, if a company is owned or controlled by a foreign interest, Congress can ban it. And we can identify something as being owned and controlled by a foreign interest and a threat to national security.
Seems right.
Seems right.
In general,
it seems right if you don't have a free market.
Yeah, like
so
in general, I sort of agree with that, but there are some.
But like, so then the question became like,
it's like by whose whose interpretation is
it?
This?
It's like, do you just mean a citizen of another country?
Right.
So it's like, so who are you designating? Like, so does that mean if a Russian billionaire owns some percentage, like if they own 20% of Facebook,
right,
this now could be a foreign interest controlled?
Right.
And it's like, well, that's a citizen of a country who owns a portion of a.
Right.
So there's all this like watering down of like that influence. Right. China's real easy. This one's real easy because ByteDance owns the American corporation TikTok or the corporation TikTok, which is in Singapore.
Right.
And so they say we have independence, we have our own board. But it's like, yeah, but all the shares are owned by ByteDance.
Right.
It's either owned by you, TikTok, the entity, they own some of their own shares. There's some self-ownership and that's done for the purpose of being able to, for options, for stock options to pay people. And then ByteDance owns the rest.
Right.
So
China's also difficult because there's a lot of cases in which the citizens, maybe a person started a company, but then the government really owns more of it than you would think. More of it than like what's common practice in the United States. Like if you own a business, the government has no say in that besides the taxes or whatever. But in China, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and the CCP has the right to any tech data.
Exactly.
So this is where the thing comes in. ByteDance owns a company outside of China. ByteDance says we don't have the data. That's another company in Singapore. It's a Singaporean company.
Right.
Singapore has a free market. Lots of Chinese investment in Singapore.
Right.
So ByteDance's like, we don't have the data. TikTok is going, well, they own us, but no, we're a separate thing.
Right.
That could be true. But it also could be true that could be true today, but it could change in the future when they want the data and force them to hand it over, right? It could be that they aren't sharing the data right now. It could be true that ByteDance is like, we're not even going to touch the data because we know someone could find out, and that could be a whole whistleblower thing. Could be true. But so that's the law. So that law went into effect, and what that law said was people like Apple, Oracle, who run an app store, or Oracle, they can face fines of $5,000 per user per day. That would bankrupt Apple. I think someone figured out it would bankrupt Apple in like 36 hours or something.
Right.
You know, like it would delete all of Apple's market cap. Not even bankrupt them. It would like delete their market cap by that many, 5,000 per user per day just for the traffic of TikTok.
Which actually, if you think about like how long that really is, at 5,000 per user per day.
Right.
36 hours is a long time.
It's not like
I don't
9
remember
hours.
what it was.
Yeah.
It was
no, but I'm just saying
it was some
it would
hours. I don't remember.
most other companies in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Well, Apple has I think are they at a $2.3 trillion market cap right now? I'd have to look.
Insane.
But
I remember when they crossed over a trillion. They were the first company ever to cross over a trillion.
You're right.
That was not that many years ago.
No, and now they're 2.3.
And now it's 2.3
or something. Whatever it is. It's high.
That's insane.
It was well over 2 now. So that's the thing. And so now then Apple and Oracle are going, we don't know if that's true, but so we have to take it down because we can't face the fines.
Right.
So,
but then they brought it back, but now it's not back.
Because Trump clarified. Trump said, basically from this ruling, the Trump DOJ has said, because here's the thing, Congress passes a law, but it can be very vague on the enforcement.
Right.
So then you need the executive branch that actually its job is the DOJ.
Right.
When will you bring? And so a lot of times they have to bring clarity. So they said, the Trump Justice Department said, "Hey, this is a new law. We're offering 90 days to get compliant, to show that you are whatever before we issue any fines." And so that bought TikTok 90 days. So if you saw that said, due to this law, we're going offline, it went offline. The next day it said, it came back online and said, thank you to President Trump for clarifying enforcement, blah, blah, blah. And so that's a DOJ policy. We enforce this law, but we inform you, and you have 90 days to remain compliant before we may bring an action.
Okay, but still, so there's another piece of this, though, that...
So they need to sell themselves is the way to get compliant.
Okay.
And in the past, if you remember, formerly under Trump, Microsoft had possibly put in a bid.
Right.
And now it's viewed as this could happen because Biden's Lena Khan, who was Biden's, she was the lady who went after all the companies if she thought it was anti-competitive practice,
Antitrust.
Antitrust.
Yeah.
And basically her thing was, if you're big, it's antitrust. So there was no deals being done.
Sure.
So it wasn't even really possible for TikTok to sell itself. They probably would have blocked it. And that would have been a whole thing where it's like you have 90 days, they have a deal, Lena Khan blocks it. Then they'd go back to the court and go, while we take the next 4 years to determine if it's antitrust, can we stay online?
Right.
And they probably would have said yes, because we would destroy the economics of the deal. You know what I mean?
Right, the whole thing.
So that probably would have happened. Even if Biden had won, it'd still be online, I think.
There's another piece of this, though, that is not included in any of that I think is important, is that people are doing this practice now. So the invention of and the advancement of quantum computers is like a real thing.
Yeah.
And people are doing this thing now where they're just storing as much data as possible because they know that in time they will be able to crack any encryption on it and decode it all. And so that makes me a little bit nervous for like...
Yeah. Zuck's point to that, like his rebuttal to this concern on I heard him on the Joe podcast, was basically, if you had a time machine, you could go back before someone discovered any vulnerability, and you would essentially be able to exploit that vulnerability, right? So it's like if someone discovers a vulnerability and hacks in somewhere, all of a sudden they get caught, like someone notices, and then the hackers or the security people are like, oh no, they found this vulnerability we didn't see, and they try to fix it, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, so it's always this game of cat and mouse.
Yeah.
So his idea was like, we'll just have to replace all cat and mice with AI cat and mice, so that once that happens, we'll have to use an AI. We'll just have to use AI on our side, to then go, okay, now we see it, so now we need an AI to shore it up, and then there'll be another AI that is able to much more quickly exploit,
I see.
and then they'll use another one. So he's like, we're going to replace hackers and security specialists with hackers with AI and hackers with security specialists, and the fight kind of goes on.
That could probably work.
And his thing was like,
people don't I don't know if you guys know this or not, but big tech companies offer bounties for these things.
Yes.
Right. So like Google has you can get paid tens of thousands of dollars to find exploits in their software and tell them about it before
someone else,
before it actually gets exploited by a nefarious person. So,
and it's genius because it takes people that might otherwise become a criminal with this skill, and instead they're like, I'm not going to risk going to prison. I'll just I'll make the money anyway.
Right.
And
like, it is a little bit like, if it, well, anyway, that's the difference between white hat and black hat hackers.
Sure.
But the whole thing of like, what you said though, it's like ByteDance says, well, we don't have the data now, but it's like they could in the future.
Yeah. And they could retrieve the data from,
and they could retrieve all of the data ever.
Sure.
And then have all of that, and I don't like that.
Yeah. Sooze, your thoughts on ByteDance?
Oh man, I listened to like 70% of what you guys said. I
We just went really
it.
far. I'm really sorry.
No.
Sooze, what are your thoughts on the CCP's? Never mind.
Why don't we start the next episode with that? I have a lot to say about that.
All right, John, you want to play us out?
Oh, sure.
Guys,
can you give me something like less turn all of the distortion stuff off?
Yeah, play something pretty.
you want less distortion?
Yeah, more like vibey.
Oh.
There we go.
Vibey?
Vibey.
All right.
I've been Sooze.
I'm in HW.
Just won't say it.
Oh yeah.
Old times. I'm still John 2.
Oh, I'm still John 2.
There we go.
Now I can do it.
There we go.
Wow.